A government job brings thoughts of stability, but that isn't always true for every agency. A riff, which is a reduction in force, is likely coming this September, and it can impact up to 50,000 government employees. Now, these individuals are probably going to have to rely on unemployment benefits just to get by. But the good news is they were notified. The notices went out recently, and it's impacting these positions: operations and industrial engineers, transportation managers, operations support specialist, and network specialist. The federal agency that is making these cuts, it's the USPS. And this doesn't come as a big surprise. The USPS has been losing money for years. Just the past year, there was a headline that they lost over $2 billion in 1 year. They were making cuts to reduce their overall size, which doesn't seem like it worked. Interestingly enough, these are not the carrier positions or the lower level positions. You know, the people that are actually going up to your doorstep and putting the mail inside of your mailbox, these are not them. This is focused more on those managerial type positions. As the year progresses, we can easily see more federal agencies starting to consider this. Maybe a riff is right for them. Maybe they want to do layoffs. This all comes back to the debt spending bill that was recently passed in Congress. Agencies have a cap on how much they can grow, and that cap is only 1%. So when they're looking at their budgets, the room might not be there. They might have other capital expenditures they want to spend their money on, so they're going to have to reduce money spent on staffing, money spent on personnel. So with riffs in the federal government, the way that it usually happens, you receive an email. That's pretty much your notice. You're being put on notice that your position could be potentially impacted. This is a heads up that you need to start looking for another job. Now, when it comes to whether you'll lose your job or not, sometimes they will offer you a severance package or even an early retirement. Now, for a severance package to be eligible for that, you need to have at least 12 months in that agency. Otherwise, you're not going to be qualified to receive it. You can also sell your leave. So if you have 3, 4, 5 weeks of leave built up, you can sell that back to get cash. But you can't sell your sick leave. So this is one of the reasons why you should be using your sick leave throughout the year, because at the end of your federal service, there is no selling it. And another thing that you want to consider during this time is go ahead and file for unemployment benefits within your state. As part of this riff, the Postal Service said that they're offering certain individuals other opportunities, meaning we can't keep you here in this location, but there's another position over here. If you're willing, we'll put you in that job. Now, the problem is this isn't across the street, or this isn't just a few miles away. A lot of these positions are 4 or 5 hours away, and they can even be in a different state. So you might not be in a position where you can just uproot your family and go to another state completely in order to maintain or to keep the same level of job. Now, we can't talk about riffs without talking about unions. In the government, there are dozens of unions. When you first onboard to the federal government, you're going to be asked, do you want to join the union? And essentially, they're asking you, do you want to pay dues? Do you want to pay monthly to be a part of the union? Now, whether you pay or not, the union is still supposed to represent you, and they will. But depending on who you ask, you might get a different answer. And this is because some people feel that if you're a paying member of a union, maybe your representation will be stronger than if you're a non-paying member. But in theory, they're supposed to get the same type. Other government job positions, they won't even let you join the union. You're going to have to look on the job announcement. Some positions are bargaining, other positions are non-bargaining. And usually if you're a supervisor or a manager or you're part of management, you will be ineligible to join the union because you're part of management. I was surprised to find this out, but a few years ago, I was in a different federal agency, and once I looked through the paperwork, I realized that, you know what? I'm not eligible. There's no way that I could even join the union if I wanted to. A lot of people ask, is it even worth joining the Postal Service? Should I even try to get into the post office? One of the benefits is no matter where you live, there's probably a post office building somewhere nearby. So you have that as in the way of opportunities. You might be able to actually walk in there and talk to somebody there about getting a job. Another thing that you have to consider is it can be kind of laid back, but a lot of people talk about actually working on a Saturday. So if you don't like the idea of coming in on a Saturday, especially if you're new to the Postal Service, it might not be for you when it comes to work-life balance, but you might be in a position now that you need any job. So any job that you can get with benefits, then, it could be right for you. I have a couple of family members that are in a somewhat rural area, and they're in the post office, and they love it. Another thing to consider with the post office is you will find a lot of the times they have interagency agreements. So if you don't know this, a post office job is in the accepted service. It's not in the competitive service. But with the interagency agreement, you will be able to apply to competitive service jobs on usajobs.gov. So this is depending on the agency. I looked at a few yesterday with the Department of Justice, and they had an interagency agreement with them. And I know there's other federal agencies that have the same thing. When it comes to a reduction in force, there's no sugarcoating it. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be painful. But I know looking at the private sector and the public sector on how they conduct riffs, I much rather be in the public sector. Okay, enough about riffs. If you're considering getting into the federal government, or maybe you want another government job, there's a lot of myths out there, a lot of misconceptions with federal employment. And if you want to know what the top 5 myths are, I want you to watch this video next. If you would like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.